support all forms of solar, rooftop, community, and central, utility scale. All of these forms of solar are critical to allow us to meet our renewable energy goals and keep electric rates affordable to support the electrification and decarbonization of other sectors like buildings, transportation, and industry. The SMUD proposal is not perfect. It can be improved, but we support revisiting the rules in the building code in the next code cycle and move forward with the current proposal as a first step and improve that step as we go rather than try to make it perfect from the beginning. For these reasons, we support the approval.
Thank you. Let's move on to Alicia Priego to be followed by Alex Danuzzo.
Good afternoon, Alicia Priego here on behalf of Arcadia, which is an energy services platform with customers in all 50 states. One service that Arcadia offers is connecting customers with community solar projects. And with this nationwide experience, we have visibility into the best practices across the nation. And as the previous speaker noted, there's still work to do. The SMUD proposal is not the worst customer offering, but is also not the best. However, today's action is the first step in creating a vibrant market. And going forward, we would recommend encouraging applications from entities other than utilities so that customers benefit from competition within the community solar market. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Danuzzo to be followed by Corey Smith.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Alex Danuzzo, and I'm a 16-year-old high schooler. I live within SMUD's service area. I come to you today as a representative of the youth whose futures you are currently gambling with. I'm here today within these chambers. You all will be deciding what the housing market will look like in the coming 2 decades. In 5-10 years, when I'm looking for a home, will I have the option of rooftop solar? Will I be able to save hundreds of dollars a year? Or will I be locked into community solar, forced to purchase from SMUD? I, for one, want to grow up to a green, sustainable housing market. More than that, I want to grow up to a green, sustainable, healthy planet. I urge you today to support these goals and reject SMUD's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Corey Smith to be followed by Kristen Giles.
A little short. Sorry. Hello, my name is Corey Smith. I'm a lineman for SMUD and an IBW 1245 member. I agree with SMUD's proposal, and as a homeowner too, and a SMUD rate payer as well. I just can't. I've never heard of an $8,400 solar panel kit. That's really cheap. To talk to people in the community, $8,400 is a super cheap deal, and you put that money on top of a 30-year note just makes no sense to me. And as a homeowner, I would not like a solar panel on my house. I'd rather go through a solar shares program. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Giles to be followed by Dr. Stefan Saffold. Saffolo? Yeah.
Hi, Chris-Ann Giles. Thank you. I'm in strong support of SMUD's application before you for consideration. I would also like to support the comments by CBIA this afternoon. We're pleased to see that SMUD has made it crystal clear that a home buyer receiving community solar from SMUD will be able to install 1 or more batteries in their garage. We are also glad to see that SMUD has made it clear that the home buyer can add rooftop solar at any time, especially in the event that the homeowner wants to go all electric or buy an electric vehicle at a future date. Regarding the desire to have builders offer both community solar and rooftop solar as a design, please keep in mind that builders want to sell homes and rooftop solars are an amenity that's in high demand. Single-family home buyers are still going to have rooftop solar in most of their communities. The builders that I represent are using this as an option in infill communities where you may want an amenity on your roof or you do not have enough placement or utility service accessibility in order to do rooftop solar. It's an important part in an overall plan for infill development.
Thank you. Dr. Stefan Saffold to be followed by Emily Fibering of Environment California. Is Dr. Stefan Saffold here? No? Okay. While we're waiting, is Emily Fibering here? Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name's Emily Fieberling, and I'm with Environment California, a state-based environmental organization that works for clean air, clean water, and protecting our beautiful places. And Sadly, we'd like to ask you to not approve this proposal. To echo the 16-year-old, I'm 23, and climate change is the focal issue of my life. The science is just too clear. We have to aggressively move towards 100% clean energy and 100% carbon-free economy. The SMUD proposal is presenting us with an either-or choice, rooftop or Rio Linda, and we just don't agree with that. We need both, and in order to stave off the worst impacts of climate change, we need all the tools in the toolbox. And then to echo the remarks of the senator, this proposal invites other rollbacks that dim our chance for doing the hard work that needs to get done.
Thank you. Let's move on to Ben Davis, to be followed by Marty Crowdis.
Good afternoon. I'm with the California Solar and Storage Association. We remain opposed to SMUD's Solar Shares proposal, and I will narrow it down to one reason, which is that Solar Shares fails to meet 3 of the 6 criteria for an eligible community solar program. We have submitted our public comments detailing our position on this, and for this reason alone, we request the Commission disapprove SMUD's Solar Shares proposal today. To the extent that there is ambiguity in the standards that is leading to confusion as in the marketplace, which I think there is, we strongly request the Commission take time now to eliminate that ambiguity before new programs are approved and introduced to the market. From the industry point of view, it is far better to set clear market signals and clarify the intent of the Commission now, instead of waiting until projects and programs that do not meet the spirit and intent of this program are up and running. Clarity and certainty are critical ingredients to an emerging market.
Thank you. Sorry. Let's move on to Marty Crowdis,
Thank you.
followed by Alex Kafka. Is Marty Crowdis here or Alex Kafka? Yeah, Marty, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mark Crowdis. I'm with Turtle and Hughes. I suggest you reject the proposal simply based on economics. I'll point out a couple of things. One is energy storage helps you, SMUD, complete your mission. Right now, energy storage paired with solar as maximum as large as we can gets the ITC. So if you do this, you're blocking some amount of the money that could come from the federal government to SMUD and to the territory for storage to help you complete your mission. That's point number one. Point number two is jobs. So I've financed resi projects, I've financed utility scale projects. The number of jobs on resi projects and what that does for the economy is hugely beneficial compared to what you do on a community scale solar. So it's usually about 5 times as much labor goes into that and economic stimulus. I would suggest you allow as much solar as possible on roofs. And then the final thing I'll point out is heat load. You can reduce heat load with a lot of solar on the roof.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did Dr. Stefan Saffold reappear? No? Okay. Going once, going twice. Alex Kafka, to be followed by Alan Escarda.
Thank you. Alex Kafka, Verdera Partners. We're an energy consultancy for large commercial landlords. I oppose the Solar Shares proposal as structured, and I would actually like to echo Scott Wiener's comments as well. California has really proven the model with the California Solar Initiative that it turns out government can really effectively stimulate widespread market adoption of socially beneficial technologies using market tools. In response, an entire industry has created itself, innovated, and aligned behind that decision. Solar Shares directly goes against that model by locking customers into SMUD's central generation program for 20 years. It also eliminates market choice in Sacramento, deliberately hurts the industry, and endangers the state's zero net energy goals. I urge the Commission to have SMUD amend its proposal to allow customers to depart the Solar Shares program using a simple and easy to file 3-month notice to depart.
Thank you. Let's go to Alan Escarda, to be followed by Tim McGeever, to be followed by Don Osborne.
Good afternoon. My name is Alan Escarda. I oppose SMUD's revised Solar Shares proposal. First, I'd like to acknowledge the Commission for showing leadership in supporting the new solar build requirement. I think we need bold leadership now and in the future to combat the challenges of climate change. First, I don't think implementation of Solar Shares is going to prevent the construction or the selling of any new home or apartment. The demand is just too great. The other thing is I'm looking at your website, and it says your mission and goals, and I'm paraphrasing this. You're to promote alternative energy to the maximum public benefit. Well, I see the net result of solar shares will prevent rooftop solar, perfectly fine rooftops that can have new solar, not being built, while SMUD then is going to have a solar farm that could be used instead to replace their fossil fuel power plants.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to Tim McKeever, followed by Don Osborne.
Tim McKeever. I'm a project developer with Sunworks Solar Power. We install a lot of solar in the area. Community solar was never intended to be utility owned, and through the solar mandate, it was intended to be an exception where solar was not practical for those new construction properties. It should definitely be an option for those that don't have enough roof space or are shaded or what have you. But the spirit of the mandate was to build local solar, have homeowners reflect savings on their bills instead of having that savings go to the profit margin of the utility. SMUD would just be a stepping stone to all the other utilities trying to circumvent that law, and I support the rejection of this proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Don Osborne, to be followed by Tony Hammerino.
Hi, Don Osborne, Spectrum Energy. I'm also the former manager of the SMUD solar programs. First off, I'd like to point out that the Institute of Local Self-Reliance, the nation's foremost promoter and advocate of community solar, has this to say, quote, solar shares should not be mistaken for a community solar program. The solar shares is the opposite of customer choice. It'll be nearly impossible for many customers to go solar plus storage for 20 years. SMUD's plan to offer home buyers a point of purchase option is problematic at best. If rooftop solar is just another option, then why bother with a mandate? Just require an equivalent increase in the RPS and be done with it. SMUD doesn't allow VNEM, unlike 80% of the state, despite cries for it by Sacramento Affordable Housing Community. This is a major equity issue. While the CEC cannot dictate rates to SMUD, you do not have to reward this bad behavior. Please reject this for now.
Thank you. Let's move on to Tony Hammerin. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. To be followed by Andrew Christensen.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Tony. I work for SMUD. Facilities engineer. I support the Solar Shares program because it's a benefit for our customers. It provides solar energy from solar arrays connected to the grid, giving the customer the option of green energy and savings. And also by being with us, we provide continued maintenance.
Thank you.
Support.
Let's move on to Andrew Christensen, to be followed by Justin Hershey.
Andrew Christensen with Vince Solar. The purpose of my testimony is simply highlight the difference in value proposition between SMUD's solar share proposal and the benefit of on-site distributed generation. While SMUD's increased the benefit of solar shares to approximately $10 kilowatt or $30 to $40 annually, these benefits are still minimal compared to the benefit that rooftop solar can provide. To compare, one of our primary products that we offer actually in SMUD's territories for new home builds is a 0% escalator PPA. Under this, with all the standard capacity factors, degradation factors, and a 3% utility rate escalation, we assume the levelized value is $57 per kilowatt a year, or $228 annually, about 5.5 times greater than SMUD's solar shares. With a more conservative 2% utility rate escalation, we assume a levelized value of $46 a kilowatt, or $184 annually. And this is important because the figures that are shown, these are lifetime savings. These escalate over time, not just in the first year as the figures are shown.
Thank you. Let's move on to Justin Hershey, to be followed by Paul Sullivan, to be followed by Lee Miller.
Hello, my name is Justin Hershey. I was born and raised here in Sacramento County. Citrus Heights homeowner and SMUD customer. I worked for SMUD for 11 years. I'm a lineman there. I support SMUD solar shares. I hope that you do too. I too would like a green planet and would like renewable resources. I don't see how having solar panels on a roof or community owned or nearby in the community would adversely affect that. Those are both moving forward towards a greener planet. And I hope you support Solar Shares. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Paul Sullivan, to be followed by Lee Miller, to be followed by Kim Kamadi.
Paul Sullivan, 15-year solar industry veteran, early adopter, and SMUD customer. I want to speak to 2 points that have to do with customer choice. Way back in 2005, I installed solar, put it on my original mortgage, which basically, even with that added cost on my monthly mortgage fee, I was 4x cash flow positive with that. So there's an added benefit, especially with the ability to deduct that interest cost from your taxes. Second thing that hasn't been discussed yet today, there's been a recent study by Zillow about home value increase for solar between March 2018 and February 2019. Adds approximately 4.1% of value. So the median cost of a home here in Sacramento is $350,000. That adds another $15,000 of value. So I oppose this in favor of customer choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Lee Miller, to be followed by Kim Kamadi, to be followed by Stacy Reinices.
My name is Lee Miller. I'm a SMUD rooftop customer, and thank you, Senator Weiner, for your rejection of this SMUD's plan. Nothing in the SMUD proposal hints at being a true community solar program. It only targets new homeowners and multifamily dwellings. Community solar provides homes with too much shade and that are structurally cannot support panels, access to energy. There is no sharing in this proposal. It still fails the community solar program test. What's the point of making solar a building standard if it negates rooftop solar efficiencies? Should we do the same for insulation, efficient windows, and light bulbs? Why is SMUD so dead set on keeping solar from being a standard on homes? If approved, it becomes the standard for future community solar programs in California. SMUD cannot be allowed to monopolize community solar development. New dwellings are perfectly suited for solar and storage. Thank you.
Let's move on to Kim Kamadi, to be followed by Stacy. Go ahead.
Hi, Kim Kamadi, material specialist, 18 years with SMUD. I just want to say first and foremost that SMUD field employees are proud IBW 1245 represented employees. I know Weiner's gone, but we stand with union brothers and sisters from PG&E who are also here today standing with us. The new Solar Shares resource would be built by fellow union members, which is very important to represented employees. Highly skilled union workers building clean energy projects within SMUD service territory. And a Solar Share community will provide local clean power, providing local jobs, union jobs, benefiting our community. And I ask that you approve SMUD's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from Stacy Reinices, to be followed by Shauna O'Neill, to be followed by Artie Zenahani.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Nice to see you again. I stand here to oppose the program as currently described. There has not been enough discussion about the actual impacts on multifamily development. Properly done, solar plus storage and electric vehicles, which are also impacted indirectly by the lack of additional solar capacity and storage on site in this proposal. In particular, building owners and developers stand to gain in additional equity from the value of the solar that's put on place, whilst greater savings than are being proposed can be achieved for tenants. So until those issues really can be talked through about the value for multifamily especially, I would oppose this program as currently proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Shauna O'Neill, to be followed by Artie Zenahadi, to be followed by Stephanie Robinson.
Good afternoon, Shauna O'Neill, a 19-year employee with SMUD, cable locator. I echo the sentiments of my colleagues, Kim Kamadi, Christine Drapeau. I believe it's important to support the SMUD Solar Shares program. Thank you.
Thank you. Artie Zenahadi.
Mr. Chairman, members, Artie Zahadani, partner with St. Anton Communities. We're one of the state's largest affordable housing builders, almost all multifamily residential rental throughout the state with extremely low, very low, and low income tenants. We have about 2,000 units under construction now, and I just want to give you a clear-cut example in my remaining 40 seconds of why you must support the SMUD proposal. Our projects rely on tax credits and bond financing, but there is also a gap of funding that's necessary that's very difficult to find. There is no room to apply $800,000 to $1 million to each project to have solar rooftop panels. The SMUD proposal works for us. We have shovel-ready projects that are ready to go that will get shelved if you don't proceed with their plan. I urge your support, and if you have any questions, I'll be in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Robinson, to be followed by Lauren Randall.
Thank you. We've heard a lot of environmental concerns today, but no one has yet spoken for the trees. I'm here to do that, and I support this proposal. New developments have no existing shade that would qualify homes for an exemption. We need solar, but it only provides the singular benefit of energy production. Trees provide our community with a wealth of benefits, including energy savings and carbon sequestration, but go beyond that to touch on everything that makes our neighborhoods livable. We are already losing plantable space to smaller lot sizes and infrastructure like fiber optic and 5G. Requiring solar panels on every rooftop will only add one more obstacle to tree planting. We do not have to choose between trees or solar. We need a holistic, multi-solution approach that allows neighborhoods to reap benefits of both. The solar mandate will not be undermined by allowing community solar, but the overall livability of this region will be threatened if we continue to erode plantable space for trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to Lauren Randall, to be followed by Fernando Enriquez.
Great. Good afternoon, all. I'm Lauren Randall with Sunrun. In addition to supporting my colleague Alex's comments, I want to underscore Mr. Max's comments from the CPUC. Unlike IOUs, CCAs could propose something similar to solar shares without regulatory oversight within months. This is a dangerous proposition. I urge you to consider the precedent you're setting today and the unintended consequences it could propel for now 25% of the market. Thank you.
Thank you. Fernando Enriquez.
Hi, my name is Fernando Enriquez. I am a 17-year IBEW member, and I support the SMUD solar share program. My wife works in a roofing company. She has her own company. She tells me about all these nightmares about incompetent installations of solar panels on roofs, and this would benefit the community a lot by reducing all that maintenance and also making everything a lot greener. So I support this.
Thank you. Let's go to Renee Martinez, to be followed by Lori Littman, to be followed by Rachel Patton. Is Renee Martinez here? No? Lori Littman?
Hi, I'm Lori Littman. I'm president of 350 Sacramento. I support Senator Wiener's statements. We're in a climate emergency. California has been leading the way, and the world looked up to us when we passed the solar homes mandate. Now, this threatens to undermine that. Sorry, my voice goes out when I speak. It threatens to undermine the solar homes mandate, undermine solar on rooftops, and that's not acceptable. We do need utility scale solar. Homes like mine with shade don't allow solar, but we also need solar on every rooftop that's available. We need it all. And again, we're in an emergency. We need to do this now.
Thank you. Let's move on to Rachel Patton, to be followed by Loden Tyra.
I'm Rosemary Avalos, representing the Public Advisor's Office, reading public comment for Rachel Patton. Rooftop solar requirements will lead to small or no trees being planted in new development and result in mature trees being cut down when they shade panels. A sustainable future depends on a holistic approach to climate solutions. Our strategies for addressing climate change must work successfully together for our community to receive the maximum benefits they provide us. Implementing progressive solar programs in a way that uplifts and promotes urban trees will increase the health of our neighborhoods. Solar Share will achieve this dual goal in a way that rooftop solar will not. It will increase renewable energy, reduce cost to residents, and allow trees the space to continue cooling our neighborhoods and cleaning our air.
Thank you. Let's move on to London Tyra, to be followed by David Wright, to be followed by Brett Barrow.
Hi, I'm London Tyra, and I'm with IBEW 1245, and I stand in support of SMUD's proposal.
Thank you. David Wright.
Good afternoon. I'm David Wright. I'm a retired environmental scientist. I want to read a little piece of an email from a SMUD board of directors. Says, what developer is not going to choose the cheaper, easier option? There may be many reasons for a developer to offer rooftop solar, but why should we not offer a cheaper, easier option? So I think this points out very clearly that what you are in danger of doing is gutting the solar new homes residential mandate. I'm also concerned, like other people, about affordability. I don't have any financial stake in this game, but I know as a solar PV user that it's cheaper to be a solar PV user. And you saw the numbers yourself. It's $50 a year cheaper or more to be a solar PV user. So the affordability is on the side of the rooftop solar. And in terms of multifamily, SMUD is denying VNEM, so maybe that would help.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Brett Barrow, to be followed by Jasmine Strickland, to be followed by Charlotte Stevens.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, Brett Barrow at the California chapters of the National Electrical Contractors Association. NECA has 16 regional chapters that represent over 1,200 electrical contractors throughout the state. Our members include both C10 electrical contractors as well as C46 licensed contractors who install both rooftop and utility scale solar energy systems. And on a megawatts basis, we're the largest installers in the state. NECA supports the SMUD Solar Shares program, that includes participation in utility-scale solar projects and provides more cost-effective benefits to homeowners. Ultimately, the state's goal is to address demand and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And it's not about replacing utility grade with rooftop solar. And lastly, I wanted to say the community solar option allows our contractors to provide well-paid living wage jobs and benefits, and to continue to train and provide jobs for skilled workers in these realms. For those reasons, we support this proposal.
Thank you. Let's go to Jasmine Strickland, to be followed by Charlotte Stevens, to be followed by Ray Trethaway. Is Jasmine here? If not, no? Okay. Charlotte Stevens, to be followed by Ray Trethaway.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlotte Stevens. I am a member of IBEW 1245, a SMUD customer, and as well as I am an employee at PG&E. I work in the call center at PG&E, so I'm constantly speaking to customers that are struggling paying their bill. The rates are high. A lot of them are low-income customers that are just struggling and having that hard time. So I stand in support of SMUD's proposal and with my brothers and sisters at SMUD. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray Trethaway, to be followed by Jim Adams.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ray Trethaway, representing the Sacramento Tree Foundation in support of this project. You may be surprised that I called on SMUD to support this project. They did not call on me. We have a partnership for over 30 years, planting 600,000 shade trees for their customers. It's so important to us because the direct health of a neighborhood is linked directly to how much tree canopy is in that neighborhood. The scientific evidence is overwhelming. Cardiovascular disease is decreased. A person's weight and health is better. A person's mental health is better. And we believe that if we can have an option for the consumer that they may well choose, like most of all of us choose, leafy neighborhoods, leafy yards, and have a affordable, cost-effective option. So we're very supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Adams, to be followed by Jane Lamborn, to be followed by Joe Dixon. Jim Adams here, going once, going twice. Jane Lamborn.
Hello, my name is Jane Lamborn. I'm a resident of Wilton. I support Senator Wiener's comments, and I ask you to reject this proposal. I've been a resident of Sacramento and a customer of SMUD for over 35 years. I've lived in many locations within the county. I'm a retired state worker. I've been active with many community groups over the years, and consistently, when I talk to these people, they are very concerned with climate change, with the impact this is having, and they want to prevent it, and they see the need to do this sooner than we ever thought we would have to. Along with this concern, they consistently say that, you know what else they consistently say? Quote, "But what can I do? How can my small actions make a difference?" End quote. Rooftop solar gives them an option that they can do. I put rooftop solar on my house 4 years ago. It's been a benefit to me. Other people want that benefit. They want to do it. This proposal hampers that option for them. I ask you to reject it.
Thank you. Let's move on to Joe Dixon, to be followed by Jonathan Gemma.
Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Joe Dixon. I'm a 15-year employee of SMUD, 15-year member of IBEW 1245. I stand today with other SMUD employees, customers, and this awesome organization I work for in support of this Solar Shares program. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Gemma, to be followed by Alex Abrego, to be followed by Paul Gallen.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Gemma with Aztec Solar. We're a installer who develops and installs residential and commercial projects up and down the state, including here in SMUD territory. I thank you for the opportunity to voice our opposition of the proposal and request that you disapprove the application. The building efficiency standards your commission has approved, such as the new home solar mandate, was intended to lower greenhouse gas emissions as well as create a market-driven environment where consumers, not developers, would have the choice in energy efficiency options that would include in their new home. In anticipation of this new mandate, Aztec has spoken with numerous developers about on-site solar options. The proposal option, all those discussions have stalled and could potentially eliminate any choice a consumer may have. This decision is precedent-setting. It not only affects the decision in SMUD territory, but up and down the state.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to Alex Abrego, to be followed by Paul V. Galler.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Abrego, and I support this proposal, and I ask you to please approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul V. Galler, to be followed by Harold Thomas.
My name is Paul Gallen. I'm a retired IBEW, 37 years. Excuse me. And I'm in favor of this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Thomas, to be followed by Mary Gallen. Is Harold Thomas here? Going once. Mary Gallen. All right, let's move on to Ken Rawls, to be followed by Megan Shumway, to be followed by Austin Avery.
I'm Ken Rawls. I'm retired IBEW 1245, 37 years. I live in Santa Rosa, but I just want to say that I hope we someday have the same kind of an option. As a senior, I'm 77 years old, and I don't know that it would benefit me to pay for rooftop installations, but it would benefit for me to take the other option. And I do fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Megan Shumway, to be followed by Austin Avery, to be followed by Jean Cunningham.
I'm Megan Shumway, and I'm with the Climate Coalition and Solar Rights. I am a solar panel consumer. People have said a lot of things today, but one thing they have not said is they seem to be having trouble with the definition of community solar. community solar should be for the units and the owners of those units to manage, like an individual homeowner would manage their rooftop solar. And it should not be part of a utility's purview. An application for a community solar project should be done by the builders of that particular community and taken over by the homeowners in that community or the building owner. I don't think that you should support SMUD's proposal because they need to pay attention to their own.
Thank you. Thank you. Austin Avery, to be followed by Jean Cunningham, to be followed by Telia Ford.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Austin Avery with Turlock Irrigation District. TID is proud to be here expressing our support for SMUD's Neighborhood Solar Shares program, and we urge the board to adopt SMUD's application at today's meeting. With policy directives calling for our state to see massive emission reductions over the next 25 years, the crucial component to success rests with the idea of innovation. SMUD's Neighborhood Solar Share program puts the principle of innovation into practice with their investment into solar generation. The structural design of SMUD's programs not only adheres to state regulatory directives, but it also ensures costs are borne equitably among SMUD's ratepayers. TID's own investments into a renewable future are closely aligned with our colleagues at SMUD, and as such, are proud to express support for their Neighborhood Solar Shares program. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Jean Cunningham, to be followed by Telia Ford, to be followed by Juan Carlos Montero.
I'm Rosemary Avalos, representing the Public Advisor's Office, providing public comment on behalf of Jean Cunningham. I would like to register my support for SMUD's Solar Share program. Two things Sacramento and the United States and the world desperately need are shifts to renewable energy to curb greenhouse gas emissions and more forests to diminish CO2. These are not mutually exclusive goals. A plan to boost solar availability in new construction is essential moving forward, but there needs to be a plan which will save existing trees and promote the expansion of Sacramento's urban forests. Trees are the lifeblood of a community in so many ways. They provide shade, livable communities, habitat for wildlife, and most importantly, a beautiful and natural way to sequester CO2. SMUD Solar Share can achieve both these goals. I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you. Let's move on to Telia Ford, to be followed by Juan Carlos Montero.
Hello, my name is Telia Ford. I'm a SMUD employee as well as a SMUD customer, and I support the SMUD Solar Shares program.
Thank you. Juan Carlos Montero, to be followed by Emily Edmond.
Hello, my name is Juan Carlos Montano. I'm a SMUD employee and union IBEW member for 3 years now. I've also been a SMUD customer for the last 7 years, and as an employee and customer of SMUD, I believe SMUD is committed to solar energy and the reduction of greenhouse gases, and this is just one step where SMUD will be able to get closer to 0% greenhouse gases, and I support SMUD Solar Shares. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily Edmond, to be followed by Troy Hearn.
Rosemary Avalos, representing the Public Advisor's Office, reading public comment for Emily Edmond. I strongly support the Solar Share program. Solar Share panels and trees are both important. Trees not only provide ecological benefits, they also provide emotional and economic benefits to those neighborhoods who are lucky enough to have an abundance, and every neighborhood should have enough trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Troy Hearn, to be followed by Devon Cross, to be followed by Fred Ross.
Hi, my name is Troy Hearn. I'm a 17-year SMUD employee, a 17-year IBEW 1245 member, and I am here to support SMUD Solar Shares program.
Thank you. Devon Cross.
My name is Devon Cross. I'm a 17-year member of SMUD, and I'm here to represent 1245. Something about SMUD is in their statement when they say that they are community owned and they put the community first. I see it firsthand. I've sat in a lot of meetings where the decisions that they make are truly about the ratepayers and the community. So saying that, I think you guys should approve the Neighborhood Solar Shares program.
Thank you. Let's go to Fred Ross, to be followed by Victoria Vasquez.
Good afternoon, Fred Ross, staff for IBW 1245. I'm proud to stand with our sisters and brothers from SMUD in support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Victoria Vasquez, to be followed by Ruth Bailey, to be followed by Mike Monahan.
Rosemary Avalos, representing Public Advisor's Office, providing public comment for Victoria Vasquez. As an environmental community organizer in Sacramento, I have taken many calls from owners of new homes with limited green space whom request trees. They are frustrated to find out they cannot plant trees without impacting their solar panels. Trees increase shade in the summer and warmth in the winter. I am writing to support SMUD's solar share program so that solar energy can be harvested without impairing trees' use as our natural climate solution. Trees provide many public health benefits, both physical and social. I hope you will make the right decision in forwarding Sacramento's legacy as the city of trees.
Okay. Thanks everyone for their patience. We're getting close. We're getting close. Just a few more here. Ruth Bailey, to be followed by Mike Monaghan, to be followed by Steve Euler.
Hello, my name is Ruth Bailey. I'm here in support of my fellow IBEW Local 1245 sisters and brothers. I am a 30-year employee of PG&E. I'm retired 9 years. I am here to support them for the workers that spend a lot of their time and energy supporting this initiative, and I do support it, and I hope that you can pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike Monaghan.
Mr. Chair, members, Mike Monaghan on behalf of the California State Association of Electrical Workers and the Coalition of California Utility Employees, which are the umbrella groups for all the IBEW locals in California, including the brothers and sisters at 1245, the 550 IBEW members who work for SMUD. It's important to note that these members, skilled and trained, are the ones that actually install and maintain these systems efficiently and safely. They put in a lot of time in the apprenticeship programs. It's a big commitment by the employers and the members themselves, and the results are pretty self-evident. We urge your support.
Thank you. Let's go to Steve Euler, to be followed by Bernadette Del Chiaro.
Steve Euler, now for something completely different, the tax issue. The calculations that will go on to the $60+ charge. County exempts up to $45 for utility charges. City has taxes on those. I've asked for the calculations for those. Fortunately, no matter how you vote here, they still have to make the CBEC program operate with this. So I'm looking forward. I have a public records request in for both with SMUD. Perhaps President Kurth will see that that's fulfilled for those calculations. I was given no calculations. It's docketed. And also you should pay attention to the SMUD executives talking about the methods of how they bake the solar shares into the rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Bernadette's coming up. Just anyone of the names I've already called, but they weren't here. Mary Gallen, Harold Thomas, Jim Adams, Rennie Martinez, and Stefan Saffold. If any of them are them, please come to the line. Bernadette Del Chiaro. No, Bernadette should come now if you want. And then other folks can get in line.
Good afternoon, Bernadette Del Chiaro, California Solar and Storage Association. The proponents are trying to frame this as a solar versus solar decision, which I would imagine would be a hard choice for any and most environmentalists to make. This is not solar versus solar. This is smart buildings of the future versus the dumb buildings of the past. The Energy Commission hoped for innovative community solar projects to come out of the alternative compliance option. All you're getting today is a very commonplace utility scale project, the likes of which the RPS will already support and bring to the fore. If SMUD was offering to build a couple extra turbines out in Solano County and attribute those electrons to a home in compliance with building code, would you be okay with that? This is a historic vote. Everybody, almost everybody that's come before you to support SMUD has done it at the rejection of the same old arguments against rooftop solar. It's bad for trees, it's too expensive, it's only for the rich, it's bad for workers. These are false attributes to solar, and I ask you to reject them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Rennie Martinez to be followed by Stefan Saffold.
Rene Cruz Martinez, IBW 1245 staff, also a proud 15-year Sacramento County resident. I strongly support SMUD Solar Share Program. My personal story, I just purchased my home last year in Atomas. My option was rooftop solar. I did not want it. I was forced to get it. It was either $15,000 added to my mortgage or a 20-year lease at $55 a month. So if it was my option, I would not have gotten it. So definitely, I asked for you to approve the SMUD proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Dr. Stefan Saffold in the audience? No. Jim Adams? No. Harold Thomas? And Mary Gallen? No? Okay. Then we have next is, and our final speaker in the room today is Rick Umoff.
Hi, Rick Umoff here with the Solar Energy Industries Association. Just wanted to quickly say we saw a lot of improvement in SMUD's revised application, which we appreciate. We still remained rather concerned about the optionality issue, and we'd heard from SMUD that that's a result of the code and the way the code's written and the durability requirement. But we do think that's something that needs to be looked at, is customers being able to move in and out of the solar shares program so they don't get locked into that program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the phones. Rex Heim, to be followed by Shiva Patel, to be followed by Richard Scaff.
Am I on?
You're on. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm Rex W. Heim, representing the California Business Properties Association and the Building Owners and Managers Association of California, and we strongly urge you to approve this SMUD program. We do have a substantial interest in the development of mixed-use occupancies. These mixed-use occupancies are buildings where the first floor is commercial or office space and the 2 or 3 stories above it are residential units. If there are 3 stories or less of residential units, each of these residential units must comply with the CEC's new mandate for renewable energy component. In many cases, especially if this is a single project, the builder will be dealing with very tight law constraints. Bulky HVAC will have to go up on the roof, along with other roof obstructions. The defense building's roof area will also be required to have parapet walls for fire safety and other fire safety clearance requirements. Bottom line is, in this case, there will be minimal area remaining on the roof to allow for the installation of solar PV panels, especially considering that there will be 2 or 3 apartment units located directly under the same roof area of the roof. These commonly occurring design constraints.
Thank you, Mr. Heim. Sorry, we're out of time. Sorry. Let's move on to Shiva Patel, to be followed by Richard Scaff. Shiva?
Hi, my name is Shiva Patel
Shiva, sorry,
with the Center for Biological.
Go ahead.
And on behalf of our 100,000 California members, we urge the Commission to reject SMUD's Solar Shares application, as it will set a dangerous precedent for other California utilities and does not do enough for low-income environmental justice communities. We also agree with the comments from Sierra Club California, Center for Sunrun, and Solar Rights Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Scaff, to be followed by Michael Malinowski.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. There is a huge feedback problem, so I hope that can be fixed. I am calling today to oppose the SMUD program. First, I want to ask the Commissioner whether the Commissioners have considered the unintended consequences of the SMUD revised solar shares program. I believe that, based on what I've read, that it will result in fewer homes having localized solar, which in the case of people with disabilities and seniors who depend on consistent electricity, those folks will be threatened with power when power outages occur, because they will not be served with power by the proposed SMUD solution, where if they had batteries in their home
Thank you,
and
sir.
solar in their home that could...
I'm sorry, you're out of time. Let's go to Michael Malinowski, to be followed by James Adams. Is Michael Malinowski still on the line? Sir, are you there? Mr. Malinowski? Going once, going twice? Okay, let's move on to James Adams.
For all the arguments that you've heard today, I urge you to oppose SMUD's proposal.
Thank you. Let's go on to Esmeralda Placinia.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Esmeralda Placencia. I am a Sunrise Sacramento member. As an environmental advocate, I have volunteered with Sac Tree Foundation. I am here to ask you to shut down your fossil fuel plants and transition to 100% renewable energy. I am support of rooftop solar power because I believe any person or business should be able to choose and easily transition into solar energy. SMUD has stepped in as a leader of renewable energy. I hope they can fulfill that reputation. In addition to the concern about tree plantings, shorter trees can still be planted to provide shade. We need to put an end to the solar inequalities distributed among our community. Please act as to this issue as quickly as possible. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Leslie Bryan is our final public comment.
Good afternoon. My name's Leslie Bryan with the Reading Electric Utility, and we appreciate the opportunity to follow up on comments that we submitted to the Commission on January 23rd. Once again, we'd just like to urge you to approve SMUD's application for their Neighborhood Solar Shares program. We consider SMUD's program to be a model that other utilities, including ours, can draw upon to provide affordable, clean electricity in their own territories. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room wishing to make a comment who has not yet made a comment, or anyone else on the phone? Thank you. Let's just pause there. Everyone give yourselves a round of applause for getting through a long afternoon. I want to say we heard a lot of really heartfelt commentary on all sides, raising a lot of issues, and there are, I think, a lot of common themes about where we're trying to get to as a state. Before we turn to commissioner discussion, I wanted just to give staff the opportunity to respond. If there are any points of information you'd like to clarify based on questions raised during public comments or points that you wanted to respond to, Bill, Matt, Drew. If not, we can move to commissioner discussion. Was there anything? Go ahead.
So this is Bill Pennington, Energy Commission staff. I just wanted to speak to comments kind of related to the requirements of the standards. So there were comments made by Cal SSA's attorneys that called out arguments about why SMUD's proposal does not meet 3 of the requirements. And staff looked carefully at those comments and discussed them with council. And we don't believe that those arguments really understand what the standards were doing. And I think Drew's presentation this morning, or at 1 o'clock, was a good explanation of that and clarification of that. The only other kind of comment in the record related to the standards requirements that I see as being incorrect is SMUD's findings that the durability requirements do not allow an opt-out choice during the 20-year time period. And in reality, staff does not believe that's the case. And basically, if someone wanted to install a rooftop system that was compliant with the standards midstream of the 20-year time period, that would be a completely satisfactory outcome for accomplishing the intent of the standards. And we don't see any reason why that would be blocked by the standards. We also think it would be maybe a little difficult administratively to do, but we really don't think it's overwhelmingly difficult to do. So staff would be completely prepared to work with SMUD to, and with our attorneys to clarify how that could happen if SMUD chose to pursue that. Another thing we should say is that there's been comments, recommendations that we consider changes to the standards requirements to try to clarify those in the next upcoming building code cycle. And staff is prepared to do that. And we think there's been good information pointed out about what people are misunderstanding and what could be improved. So we would intend to do that. So that kind of puts if we decide to change the standards, that kind of puts a time limit on how long this approval, if you're going to approve this, would last and be in effect. If changes were made in the standards, then we would need to have any applicant that had been approved under the 2019 standards to come back and demonstrate that they meet the requirements of whatever gets changed in the 2022 standards.
Thank you. Let's go to Commissioner McAllister.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Certainly a lot of viewpoints. This is an issue with many sides, not just two. So it's sort of pro and con how everything shakes out. But there are a lot of viewpoints about this issue, and it's relatively complex. So I want to just the fact that many voices on all sides of this topic are here and motivated to speak reflects how important it is and how vital this topic is, and that's actually gratifying. I mean, that's exactly what our process is supposed to embrace. I want to thank Drew, Building Standards Office staff, Bill, the Efficiency Division Management, for sure, SMUD for bringing the original proposal, rolling up your sleeves, making some changes, and all the stakeholders who have sort of pointed out all the different issues and warts and all, right? So I think that's exactly the process that I think helps us get to a better outcome. So thanks to all the stakeholders. I know a minute is not very long, and thanks for trying to condense your thoughts and keeping on that time. Thanks to the chair for holding people's feet to the fire on that. So I just have some comments. Having gone through several cycles now since I came to the commission, the building standards update process is an incredibly robust, incredibly labor intensive, incredibly staff time intensive, and highly technical endeavor. And Drew sort of described it at a high level, but I think he captured it well. It did a lot of things. The 2019 building standards were developed in a robust and multi-year process. CEC staff and everyone involved did massive lifting to get that done and get it across the finish line at the Building Standards Office. At the Building Standards Commission. And the record behind the regulations is clear, it's robust, it's well supported. And the regulations themselves, the words have not changed since we adopted it in 2017. It's been there the whole time, and we talked about every word along the way. They need to be implemented. On community solar, the intent was actually explicitly not to prescribe a lot of details. We wanted the marketplace to figure out how to get this done. We wanted to see some innovation. We didn't feel that there was an ability to prescribe all these details. To allow and encourage the issues to be sorted out via the process that we're going through right now. There was intentionality. And the docket, the transcripts of those discussions, actually, if you look at them now, they make an excellent read, and they bolster my confidence that we're on the solid ground here today. I wanted to call out a couple of things that were said along the way. We had a lot of comments, obviously, lots of content there, but I wanted to just raise a point that Ed Smeloff made and Bernadette Del Chiaro here towards the end. There is a vision of what our buildings are going to do. There's a clean, reliable grid, and it's expressed through the building code. Energy efficiency is and has always been top of the heap. Demand response, load flexibility, all these things that are fundamentally part of decarbonization are right there in the building code, and we'll only get more there in the building code. Solar is a piece of that as well. It's part of the decarbonization puzzle. But I don't want it it's not a black and white thing. It's not a either or thing. It's really, there are lots of paths to get the decarbonization. And I think we sort of miss the point if we take sides too sternly, I think, on one particular issue like this that's part of a larger whole. So, these regs obviously have not been without controversy. Housing costs are a huge concern. There have been and there are currently legislative proposals to direct or limit the extent of the solar requirement or otherwise seek to reduce the cost of housing in different ways. So we're going to be with this issue. There are a lot of opinions, and the legislature is going to keep weighing in on this. It's an issue of ongoing relevance. And I think we would be wise to be sensitive to those efforts. The letter we received from Senator Dr. Penn and 31 other of his colleagues, resonates. It's a message. I think that how important this is. Senator Wiener's presence here also, it's obviously an issue of continuing relevance. I just want to point out, this is not, there are exemptions and there are alternative compliance pathways, right? This is not an exemption. This is an alternative compliance pathway. Exemptions are you don't have to do it because you're shaded or because you're roofline or because, some reason where or you have really cheap power, like with Trinity PUD. We granted them an exemption because it didn't pencil. That's not what we're doing here today. It's true compliance with the code, and it's right there in the plain language of the regs. So now, we're considering the first application, and staff argues, I think, persuasively that it does satisfy the criteria that are laid out in the regs. It is additional solar, saves the homeowner money from day one, right out of the gate. And I want to kind of, there were years of conversation about community solar through Lois Wolk's bill that now, became law in sort of a different form than it started out. But this is a rate that's being offered to homeowners, to buyers of new housing, that's actually cheaper than the standard non-solar tariff. So that's a milestone. I think we have to appreciate that that's an important milestone. And it reflects that there are multiple ways to achieve solar homes cost effectively. And that flexibility is a hallmark of good regulation. I think again, the intentionality was there as we managed this conversation. The process listens to the breadth of stakeholder opinion. So SMUD made this point, and I'm not sure it kind of got repeated, but I wanted to just highlight that this idea that somehow that net metering is completely off the table is not the case, and I appreciated the explanation there. 2.8 kilowatts is not a very big solar system, and so most people's consumption, I think Mr. Raymer made that point, that we really need, it is both and, it's not an either or. Because in order to cover the load and fully electrify, if that's what your project is, or fully decarbonize, you're going to need more solar than just that minimum community solar. And whatever the headroom is above that, up to your net metering cap, which is much higher, is going to be able to access net metering. So I think that, just to be clear. So staff described that as well as SMUD. I wanted to, I'm kind of checking my box of things I wanted to point out that weren't really said through the course of the comments. But other versions of community solar, we would welcome those applications. It doesn't have to be a utility that brings it. It can be a developer. It can be, some of the models that people have brought up during their comments. I think, I personally, and imagine some of my colleagues, would love to see those applications that actually do, a smaller scale, more localized, different kind of business ownership model, different kind of compensation model. I think if those can check the boxes in the regs, or if we see fit to revisit those boxes going forward, then we'd love to be able to allow those flowers to bloom as well. A couple of items, I think, of ongoing discussion. Bill brought one of these up. This midstream opt-out. I agree with what Bill said. I think if 5 years from now, a whole bunch of folks who are buying these now new homes that come in, and then the buyer of the then existing home that's got this community solar commitment, if there are 1,000 people knocking on SMUD's door saying, "Hey, I want to opt out of my community solar and get PV," I'd hope that you look at some flexibility there and see if there's a way to work with that. It's program design. It's not our authority to tell you to do that, but I think just as a consumer responsiveness point, that would be good. As long as that rooftop PV is committed for at least the remainder of the 20 years, it would meet our durability requirement. And you know, frankly, I feel like part of what we're doing here is running traps for SMUD, and I just wanted to like encourage the public process at SMUD to be a little more robust before you kind of bring it to us, because I feel like there's a dynamic here that's not altogether sort of positive in that dissatisfaction with SMUD that we heard. You know, have those conversations out in the public in a public forum to run those traps before you bring it in. You know, so I would encourage SMUD, or that SMUD open more dialogue to anticipate and smooth out any frictions going forward with its community solar program implementation. I think those details really matter. The implementation really matters, and being responsive to the marketplace in a substantive way matters. So I appreciate our second issue is really one of precedent, and all I want to say there is that it's not really our role to make decisions that speculate about what may or may not happen out in another agency or in the marketplace. I mean, I think we try to, you know, keep our ear to the ground, but I appreciate Grant Max being here from the PUC to give us a little orientation there. But I think we have the ability to pay attention to how things evolve going forward. If there are big distortions in the marketplace, if there are these you know, unintended consequences, we'll know about them. You'll tell us about them. And we're already in the conversation about the 2022 code that's already happening. And if there are things that, you know, the vagueness of the 2019 code in this respect, you know, if there's an ability to get some consensus and tighten things up or be more specific about certain aspects, that can be part of that conversation if it looks like that would be advantageous. So I'm getting close to the end, so thanks for bearing with me. So I'd like to wrap up my comments really on a positive note, and I mean I'm actually incredibly optimistic about where we're going. The challenges are huge. I mean the representative, the 16-year-old, you know, representative of our youth today, I really am sympathetic. I've got a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. I mean, you know, we're not leaving the best future for them if we don't get our act together, and so. But yet we're in California. We have a lot of tools. I think there's really a sense of mission. And all of us in this room, even though we're fighting about this particular issue, we're on the same team. So, you know, this process continues after today. You know, this is a moment in a continuum, right? It's a snapshot, but really the long-term commitment that we all have is what we need to keep our eyes on. The 2022 code cycle, as I said, is already underway. And you know, we'll have the evidence, and if needed, the discussion can consider updates and changes. The code update process can capture that. I'm going to suggest that we, every year or so, or every so often, whenever necessary, really, we can have an informational item on a business meeting, or we can get an update about how it's going, how the implementation is. Maybe SMUD can come in and talk about the numbers. Other stakeholders can come in. Be good to get a handle on the low income, the multifamily, how things are moving along with respect to this as a piece of the overall building standards project. I do believe, with all that said, and sort of trying to put this in context, I believe that history will look back on what we've done in its sum total, and we'll see some wisdom in how we've approached this. You know, more broadly, building decarbonization is a huge topic. It's a huge project for the state, certainly for the CEC. And it's bigger than today's discussion, I would argue. And you know, we have AB 3232 to decarbonize our buildings. We've got Title 24, 2022. We've got SB 100. We've got all of these efforts that are all, you know, tied up together, and they're all related. You know, we have huge needs for multifamily housing, for housing construction across the state. You know, this is but one piece of that. And you know, responding to the climate crisis and really focusing on decarbonization is going to be policy in California from here on out. So that's not going to change. And so multiple paths can get us there, and our project is to decide which paths are the best ones. So finally, I just wanted to remember that. I wanted to remind everyone and remember myself that we make the most progress when we all try to row in the same direction. We need to be able to talk to each other. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Maybe there's some of that might happen today. But I do worry about polarization. You know, that's sort of the theme of our time. It's unfortunate. And we need to try to do our best to maintain some middle ground. And, you know, tomorrow we could face an issue around which we really need to be on the same team. So the federal government could come calling to undermine our authority to do something important. And so I think we need to make the effort to understand one another, keep lines of communication open, tend the fields of California's diverse clean energy landscape, and so that all its many flowers can continue to bloom. So that's the context that I see this conversation in. I think we're doing something important. Really, regardless of what we do today, I support this item. I think that it reflects a lot of work, and I'm committed to making it work, from my perch at the Energy Commission. But I want to just thank you all again for being here and for your roles in moving California towards the clean energy future that we all want for ourselves and our kids and our grandkids. So thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioner comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Douglas?
So I appreciate Commissioner McAllister's comments and his leadership in getting this package across the finish line. This was a very big deal for the Commission when we adopted the standards with the solar requirement, and it's now in effect. It's really only been in effect in 2020 for a few weeks. And I remember clearly as well that the community solar aspect was deliberately designed as a compliance pathway, not an exception. And so, for example, we have exceptions for when it's too shady, for example, and you can't put solar in the building. But there are a couple reasons why I thought at the time and still think it's important to have alternative compliance pathways. One is that it allows builders to avoid using an exception. So instead of utilizing an exception, they can use this pathway and they can actually comply. And secondly, at the time that we adopted the standard, and even today, I'm not utterly confident. I've heard some speakers in the room say, I'm not utterly confident that everyone would choose the house with a panel on the roof. I think most people would. I think many people would. I think the builders have said it's an amenity that customers are looking for. Nevertheless, providing some flexibility as we move forward into this mandate so that there can be responsiveness to the market. If it is true that it is a much better deal for consumers to have the panel on the roof in general, then those are the houses that'll sell, and the builders know that. And one of the things that I liked about some of the changes that SMUD made was the commitment to work with builders to find ways to allow the point of purchase option. I think where it works, people are generally going to want the solar, and that's what we're going to overwhelmingly see. But we are this is a transition. This requirement actually hasn't been in effect all that long, and it's a big change. It's a welcome change. It's a change that we've worked very, very hard at the Energy Commission to foster. I'm the attorney commissioner, so I'm the one who also looks at these things sometimes from the really boring, okay, what exactly did we write perspective, and how exactly are we applying it, and are we applying it the way we wrote it? Because if we're not applying it the way we wrote it, then we can't do that. And so I have gone back and looked carefully at the language and carefully at the requirements that we set out. And we didn't say that if somebody comes forward with an application that meets these criteria, we may approve it. We said that if it meets the criteria, we shall approve it. So at one level, I'm really looking at it from the pretty mechanical aspect of, okay, does this application meet the criteria? And I'm also hearing very much from speakers in the room that there are things that are not either very good at all or perfect or whatever it may be in terms of some of the program design. That's something, and Commissioner McAllister said this maybe in a slightly different way, but that's something we would encourage you. We're not at the Energy Commission as a state policy and regulatory body designing these programs. We are fundamentally saying, does it meet the criteria that we set out? Yes or no? Is there a better way to do it? That's a community conversation and a conversation with SMUD, and it's one that we hope SMUD will continue to have with the community. I heard a lot of suggestion that the Energy Commission should consider clarifying some aspects of what we set out in the standards. I heard and welcomed the commitment by staff to do that. That's not something we do today. You know, I mean, we can, of course, think about it today, but there's a lengthy and exhaustive public process to do that, and I think everyone here should hear the commitment from us to engage in that. At the time that this set of standards was adopted, you know, the concept of what is community solar was, I think, evolving, and it still is evolving, and it still is something that is a robust policy discussion. We set a marker in a place and adopted the standards, and so that's where we are today. It doesn't have to stay there. And so I do think there's a worthwhile conversation, and we have heard a lot that will allow us to continue to improve and continue to develop in terms of how we see the policy around that set of issues. And then, of course, when we adopt it, it'll be in effect, and I'll be the attorney commissioner saying, well, what exactly did we write? Because that's what we need to do. So I want to say, maybe I should have started with this. I really appreciate the passion around this issue from all of the speakers, and the commitment to action on climate change. The state of California is determined to make a difference, and we're going to continue to exercise our leadership. Everybody sitting here on this dais is here because we think this is the most exciting opportunity that we have to make a difference ourselves on climate change, and through the Energy Commission and through the state of California, and working in partnership with all of you. And that's our ongoing commitment here and going forward. So so those are my comments for now.
Great, thank you. Vice Chair Scott?
Sure. I also want to say thank you to everyone who came out to provide comment to us today. It's really important. It's excellent, I think, to hear the dedication and the passion and the commitment of all of the folks around the room, and also to everyone who submitted detailed written comments to us on the docket. It's very much appreciated. I want to thank our efficiency division staff and also SMUD for working together to bring a revised and, in my opinion, much improved proposal to us for consideration today. You've heard this, and so I won't echo too much of what you've already heard, but you know, to meet our clean energy and our climate goals and to do it in the most cost-effective ways, we need every option available to us. I think rooftop solar, community solar, every carbon-free resource that we can muster. And what we're doing with the building standards, I think in the proposal that's before you today with rooftop solar and community solar, it is still at the forefront. I think this is something that's bold, it's cutting edge, it's something that we haven't seen folks do before. And I do want to echo what both Commissioner Douglas and McAllister said about the difference between between a compliance mechanism and an exception. And I think, again, that goal of adding our community solar compliance mechanism into the building code was to create more options. And I think that's what we're doing here. I'm persuaded that with the changes made and the additional commitments, the clarifications that were added, that this does meet the requirements of what we said in our building standards. I also want to recognize that this first round may not be perfect, but I don't think we should let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I do think that we want to closely monitor the implementation of the program, so I want to echo Commissioner McAllister's call for potentially informational items or other ways for us to really check in and hear how it goes. I'm mindful of what we heard about the cautions about a precedent and how is this being implemented, what comes out of it. And our point here is really to decarbonize, right? Decarbonize in the most affordable and reliable way, and we need to make sure that that's what's happening. So I appreciate the checkpoints that we have discussed. And I also want to just say thank you, Commissioner McAllister, to you for your leadership and your dedication in this space. Your leadership is fantastic.
Thank you, Commissioner Monahan.
Yes. Well, I want to start also by saying thanks to everybody for providing public testimony, especially folks that have never done this before. It's scary. And, you know, you were brave to come here and give your testimony. So thanks to the 16-year-old, thanks to the folks from IBEW and the SMUD folks, and thanks to the residents. I mean, it's really hard, and we appreciate that you were brave enough to come and provide your testimony. I am really heartened by the changes that were made between the last business meeting when we discussed this and this proposal. So I thank the staff and the SMUD folks for revising the proposal and coming with us with a proposal that I think better meets the spirit of community solar. And I think it behooves us on the commission to think more as we do our revisions in 2022, what are we learning in terms of the definition of community solar, and how can we integrate that into our regulations so that going forward, folks will have a better sense of what would be approvable. I mean, the criteria, as Drew laid out very well, is pretty basic and simple. And from my perspective, this proposal does meet the criteria. And I would say it's on us as the commission to really refine that criteria as we get more information, so we get more specific about what is community solar, how do we provide resilience benefits. And I'm particularly interested in better understanding the implications for multifamily dwellings. I think we heard a lot of information about how single family homes, there's already an economic incentive, they're gonna make more money, and when they resell the house, we have a lot of evidence that will likely be solar. There will be a significant amount of rooftop solar on individual homes. I'm not convinced when we were talking about multifamily dwellings that is going to be the case. And I think we heard from affordable housing advocates that it will slow down the process and perhaps prevent multifamily dwellings from being built if we have this solar requirement. And at the same time, those are the very residents that we want to help, because it's the renters of apartment buildings who pay utility bills who are going to benefit. Those residents are most vulnerable to price spikes and to, shutoffs due to not being able to pay their bills. So how do we make sure that we move forward in a way that brings all Californians along, and especially our most vulnerable? So I think as we look at further analysis, that's a piece that we should really evaluate is there an impact on affordable homes? What does this mean in terms of lower income residents being able to benefit? And are there additional programs that we need around financing to ensure that those benefits are spread to all communities? Thank you to all the staff who've worked so hard. Thanks to Commissioner McAllister, who has worked so hard on this. And I think we do have a much better proposal, and I'm looking forward to supporting it.
Great, thank you. Well, let me just say, our mission as an agency is to build a clean energy future, to get to 100% clean energy grid, fully decarbonized, and to really lead the way. I'm incredibly proud, by the way, of what's happened over the course of the last year. So SB 100 went into effect exactly a year ago, and during that time, we had New York, Wisconsin, Connecticut, Nevada, New Mexico, all these other states. We have now 30% of the population of the United States living in a state that's committed to get to 100% clean energy future. And this is a part of that. I will say that, I think a fair criticism of the Energy Commission, a fair criticism of me, is that we had not fully fleshed out what does the community solar actually mean. And I think that was in part because we were focused a lot on the rooftop dimension of it, but it was very much part of the intention that there would always be this option. And the whole policy, to me, was adopted with these sort of common sense off-ramps. If your house is shaded or it's north-facing, if it's not cost-effective in the case of Trinity, you get an exemption, but that there would be this alternative compliance mechanism that was built into the policy. I do regard this proposal from SMUD that we're voting on today, which I will be voting in favor of, as significantly improved from what we heard a few months ago. The principal critiques that I heard, there wasn't a commitment that the project would be new. Now that commitment's been made. The value proposition was criticized being too low. That has been doubled. There wasn't a commitment that all the projects for these community solar projects would be local in SMUD territory. That commitment has been made, or that the projects would be below 20 megawatts, and that commitment's been made. The reality where we are in the market today is we last May we hit 1 million solar roofs. We're adding about 12,000 solar roofs a month all of last year. That number's increased to 20,000 a month now with the solar mandate. So even under the worst case scenario, it's still a very significant net increase in solar roofs going into the market in California. I will say, with respect to SMUD, I do share Commissioner McAllister's concern. There wasn't a public hearing that you held to get this kind of feedback. I felt, honestly, the Energy Commission kind of became the hearing room for SMUD, and I that is unfortunate, because I actually think many of the changes were made, that could have been vetted and done, in a SMUD process prior to coming to the Energy Commission. But with that said, I really do want to compliment SMUD on the progress. I do regard it as a substantively and significantly improved proposal. I will say that one request I'd like to make of staff in concert with Commissioner McAllister, that we get a market report in a year and really focus on what developments are actually happening. We need to stay very tuned to this. What we are voting on today is for this code cycle. Okay, I don't want to have anyone be under the misimpression that this is all set in stone for all of eternity. This is a process that can be tweaked as needed. The bottom line is, we have a White House right now that is in retreat on the issue of climate. All right, we know that, we see that we're doing crazy things as a country, withdrawing from the Paris Agreement. Really, the only country in the world that's done that, trying to revive coal power at a time when everyone else is trying to move off of coal. Even undoing policies like mom and apple pie policies, like Energy Star program. Okay, that's the world we're in right now. And so California does have to step up and lead boldly in everything we do. And really, the principal goal to me is to make the whole system successful. And that means rooftop, that means community scale, that means utility scale, it means how the pieces fit together, it means energy storage, it means intelligent charging protocols for EVs, this whole system, because we are a model for the world. And we need to remember that our state has an incredible power of being this megaphone and an incubator. The modern solar industry globally was born in our state. Ed Smeloff is here, who's instrumental in that. The very first utility scale solar projects in the world were done here in SMUD territory. The first utility scale wind projects in the world. The electric vehicle industry, born in California. Every single automaker in the world now, every major automaker is developing an electric option. That is because of Tesla, right? California coming. So the very first energy efficiency codes and standards globally were born here. And this is a legacy I think we all feel the weight of. We have to keep pushing the envelope and keep being that beacon and that bright light, and keep our eyes on how do we keep the whole system successful. So I am going to vote in support of this. I want to thank Commissioner McAllister for all your hard work and that of your staff. And with that, I welcome a motion on the item.
All right. Well, I guess I'm making the motion. All right, I'll move item 11.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Scott. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. We're adjourned. Thank you.